Hello and welcome to Casting Roles, a bunch of theater nerds and good friends by Little D&D. We're so happy that you've joined us. Take a moment to subscribe to the show. It takes just a click and gains our unending thanks. Drop us a like and leave a comment for Campaign 2. Our videos are uploaded here on YouTube every Friday and we have tons of great content to explore. Without further ado, let's go ahead and start the show. Welcome back, Starstriders! So last time, you were chased into the servants' tunnels by the Prince of Frost and ran into Yuna, who was coming back from the library. She guided you back to Thalindra's library, a room filled with thousands upon thousands of dream catchers, each capturing the sleeping thoughts of someone in Alyria. Yuna informed you that this was the safest room in the mansion, at least until morning, where even Thalindra in her dagger form does not travel. As you rested, you perused some of the dream catchers, and Dulicite found one that was attempting to get around the inability to spy on a witch and her apprentice. Lucky checked in on Simona Lings. Bonnie found one of a hapless man who seems to have found some kind of odd community. And finally, Kieran, reaching out to one, pulled Cassandra Dawntreder's Archon of Divination. And as he asked a question of the catcher about the purpose of the foresight, knew that the Mistress of Divination was keenly aware when she was being spied on. So Kieran, as you dive into the Dreamcatcher, the memories kind of rushing past you. You passed the wisdom check to get into the Dreamcatcher. Go ahead and make the wisdom check to see how well you can control the flow of memory.
That is a 13 plus 2, 15.
Oh, that's exactly the DC. So as your question kind of goes into it, there's suddenly a like the videos kind of, not the videos, the images of the memories, the windows kind of fade around. And there are 4 here that are floating around that are strong enough memories that were captured by the Dreamcatcher about Cassandra and the foresight. They seem to be in a relative order, but you can also activate them in any order that you'd like. So you can do 1, 2, 3, or 4 to start with.
Let's do number 4.
Okay. So jumping forward to number 4. So as you kind of zoom in, the window fills your vision and you it's almost like stepping into the space that Cassandra is filling in this realm. And so you're seeing everything from her perspective and you see her, she's looking down at a projection, floating in the middle of a table that is the foresight. And you can tell it looks a little different than what you remember it looking like. You're very well versed at studying ships and knowing what ships look like. But as the memory progresses for a moment, you see like Sola is making some moves and like elements of the ship are moving and changing shape or things are moving around within them. Finally Sola says, well, if the Noavians are going to throw a fit about stolen technology, perhaps we should make this look a little bit different, get around their knowing of what exactly and where this came from. We could also probably put a little bit of our own magic into it to have it behave in a way that they think is different. And you hear Dawntreder's voice say, combining the schools of divination and conjuration would result in quite an interesting weapon, I would think. And then you hear a knock at the door, and Dawntreder's eyes kind of shoot over to Sola, and you hear Dawntreder say, "Were you expecting someone?" And Sola says, "No, I don't believe so." But she kind of waves a hand, and the foresight fades from view. Come in, and somebody steps into the room, and it is a cloaked figure, robed, like you can't see their face. And the voice comes out of this cloaked figure, to see 2 wizards hiding away in a hole, discussing plans of state. Does Corday know that you're moving forward with this? And Don Treader and Arturian kind of look at each other for a moment, and Arturian says, well, against her better judgment, I think the Hall of Voices saw reason and are funding it. Come in. And you get a sense that, like, you can tell that, like, Sola recognizes this person, but not necessarily you. Go ahead and make a insight check.
Okay, inside, +5. That's a 12 + 5, 17.
Yes.
I literally wrote DC 17 insight check will reveal.
Insight.
Yeah, DC 17 insight check will reveal. This robed figure, for a moment, it takes you a second to lock into the voice, the overall body structure. And it only makes sense because in the moment where you saw this robed figure for the first time, it was also Kieran who made the insight check to see if they could recognize who that person was. This is the same robed figure that was in the temple with Temniel Rowe and Tyrell Dimwala, doing the spell to bring forth the primal, or the activating the primal. And they kind of step in and they say, well, bring up the plans if you're going to move forward with it. And Sola makes a movement and the ship reappears. And she says, if you're going to create a weapon of war, perhaps we could have it do something a little bit more powerful. If we are to live in a world without gods, we must be safe from the wandering hungers and rising ambitions of those who would fill those empty seats here. And she traces some runes across, and suddenly you see like the ship shrinks in size as a projection of the planet comes underneath it. And you can see the ship moving across the planet's surface, leaving behind a trail of lines that are making a runic pattern on the planet's surface. And Dawn Treader's looking at it for a moment, and she says, what exactly do you think this spell would protect against? And Arturian's kind of looking at it. She says, there are no threats from outside the planet that this would need. And the robed figure says, well, I'm not so sure about that, but there are definitely threats from within. There are people every day seeking to bring back the realm of the gods, whether it be to call forth primals or call forth elementals or the Fae, and make them into gods to fill empty seats. And Dawn Treader says, I don't even think this is possible. And the figure says, well, isn't it in your nature to push magic as far as you can see? And if it works, the military will get their weapon of war. The realm will have a bargaining chip in the growing arms race with their more technologically advanced Noavian counterparts. And you all will cast the greatest spell in the history of humanity. And that's where the memory kind of fades. 1, 2, and 3 are still sitting before you.
2.
So the second image, you get this. You're inside a tent. It looks like a forward battle tent, perhaps, but it's well apportioned. And you can see like Dawn Treader is wrapping a wound on her arm, and she's kind of breathing heavily. And a voice calls from outside the tent, and she says, "Enter." And a page enters and says, Archon Dawn Treader, I bring news from Anavir. The temple, it exploded. And she said, no, slow down. What exactly are you talking about? And they said, well, the spirit of Caiaphas, I think, returned, and it subsumed Bellinor. And they... I don't know. A force fought them, and there's nothing left. The gods are dead. And Dawn Treader leans back. Dead, you say? Quite interesting. And she reaches into a pouch and pulls out a Zephrysite gem and is staring at it. And then the vision fades. 1 and 3.
3.
The vision pulls in, and you see you're standing in a very humble office, but it has a massive desk that's piled with papers. and behind it, a woman in a wheelchair, dark-skinned, with tight braids kind of pulled back. She's wearing simple garb, but it's clearly well made. And she's in the middle of saying, Don Treader, I don't make it a habit of meeting with members of the Violet Conclave. Your machinations have proven to lead us into a path of far darker climes than we are hoping to follow. I took this meeting because you requested it 5 times. I have the business of state to attend to. Exactly what do you need from me? And Don Treader steps up and sets that Zephyrsite gem on the table. And she says, I think that with your work with the Risk Breakers, you've probably seen this information that I've been passing around the halls. And Corday says, yes, I'm aware. Don Treader says, do you not think that if the Noavians had drawn up plans for such a vessel that they did not intend to build it? And Corday leans back in her chair. I have no intention of stealing plans from Noavians. They would see it as an act of war. They already balk at the use of Zephyrsite and are seeking to plug the holes of its entrance into our kingdom. If their proprietary knowledge was supported by the state itself, I don't think that Abioye and his dragon horde would take too kindly to that. And Don Treader kind of says, there are things that we can do, ways that we can make such a vessel look not so clearly stolen. Do you not think that this is something that you should bring to your counterparts? You are not a king, Corday. You do not get to make such decisions alone anymore. And Iris sits up. I do not think that you, of all people, need to remind me of what democracy means, Don Treader. But I will bring it to the council. If they decide that a vote of such massive importance should be brought into the hall, I will not stand in its way. And the memory fades.
That's my girl Iris. Let's go.
That just leaves number 1.
Number 1. You are in the Hall of Archons, a resplendent chamber within the Violet Conclave. There are 9 raised seats. Each seem to be floating in the air, but they are draped in such a way that like these fabric panels fall from the seats all the way to the ground. So rather than like looking like they're floating, it looks like these chairs are just lifted massively up into the air. And Don Treader is sitting at one on the left-hand side of this like half-moon circle. And as it moves towards the middle seat where a regal, purple-skinned elven woman with white hair is sitting at the head of the Hall of Archons. And then the others are all sitting around. The 9th seat is empty, as one of the schools of magic does not have a representative anymore, as that was the School of Necromancy. But they're seem to be just discussing the elements of state when suddenly the doors of the chamber open and a figure runs into the chamber being chased by guards. And the purple-skinned elven woman just stands up and releases a spell, and the figure freezes in space. How bold of you to think that you can charm into our presence the 9 most powerful, or the 8 most powerful mages in the land. Are you an assassin plot, then? Speak. And the hood is pushed back off of the figure, and you see standing in front of them an automaton. Not Andulasite level of careful construction. Like, this is like a rough draft automaton, an early stage of a light forged. And the automaton speaks. But you can tell it's almost like the automaton isn't speaking, it's being used as a speaker for another voice. And a voice calls out, mages of the Violet Conclave, it was not within my power to travel to you to bring this message, so I sent my messenger. My name is Preto Yokuzi. I would like to address the council.
Damn it!
And
Fucking.
she looks out to the group, and everyone kind of nods. And she sits down and she says, "You have our attention. You have our attention." And Praetor Yakuzi says, "At this very moment, the capital of Nuevia is under assault by one of your former members, Victor Riles, with my aid." And the crowd kind of, the 8 gathered mages kind of react strongly to this. The elven woman sits stoically. And he says, "If he does not get what he is looking for in my home, and he fails, the world will fall to the Veil. The world will fall to Gaius. We need something to protect us in the event that you allow the dragon to die." And as he's saying this, a bolt of lightning flies from the high chair, hits the automaton, and shatters it into a million pieces. And the purple-skinned elven woman stands up and she says, "We do not talk to terrorists and their ilk. If any of the Vedic Conclave seek to work with Praetor Yakuzi or with Victor Riles, you may find another seat to sit upon, because this one will not be a welcome space for you." And Kieran, you're looking across, you see Terrell Dimwala is sitting in a chair here, as she was still the Archon of Evocation. But as Dawn Trader, your eyes are not watching the woman in the high seat. Something flew from the hands of the robot and landed beneath you, and you see 2 Zephrysite gems at the bottom of the chamber. And as your seat lowers to the ground and the conclave is called to an end, you go over and pick it up, and you can tell that she casts a spell. And nestled within the gem-like structure of the Zephrysite, you see a spinning orb that contains the designs of a ship of war that would later become the Foresight. And those are the memories of Dawn Trader as it connects to the Foresight.
Can I just say that the order that Rob chose for us to view this in was the most cinematic fucking thing. I'm invested in this like it's like HBO, dude. I'm like, that was awesome.
Well, I didn't because Josh was having me pick rather than just go through. It's like I'm gonna get interrupted at some point. So, what order do I think I will get the most useful information?
I don't know. Just something about that was awesome. Like building too. Like, of course it was.
Yeah.
Because Ace and I were talking about all this. Ace at one point was like, "So who made this?" And we were like, "Well, it's either Abel or Praetor Yakuzi."
Abel got a mention in the memories.
But unfortunately, it came down to, well, what's the worst option?
Yep.
Yeah. Who's more likely to build a warship? I said it would only be Abel
to build the warship. Because my thing was, I was like, well, maybe Abel took it and adapted it, but it was original.
Yeah. Or Abel built it for something else, so they adapted it from there. But no.
No,
they're not smart enough. They're not smart enough to adapt it that hard.
No,
they just kind of put a sticker on it, a little elemental sticker.
New coat of paint.
Yeah,
it's like a fake electric car.
The biggest change that they seem to have made is that the use of the magic was not a part of the original design. So the incorporation of the Dawn Traders and Arturian School of Magic was their construction.
It's even worse.
But not even their idea, which is crazy, which is the worst part. Hey, shout out to the bitch who came in and was like, "You guys, there are people trying to bring back the primals." I'm trying to bring back the primals.
Yeah, Kieran, that probably hits the most, is that the woman that you know was trying to bring back the primals was also talking about how that was one of the greatest threats to the realm.
Well, whatever that spell that the ship cast is not, in my mind, is not what they said it was.
Well,
you saw...
We saw them make a rune to unleash a prime. So it seems like they're using the ship to make a huge rune on the entire continent.
You saw enough of the rune.
They're doing something really insane.
Yes, that's
they're doing something actually like worse than what we thought they were doing.
But whether you can't tell from the memory whether Dawn Treader and Arturian, because clearly you're in her mind, but you're not reading her thoughts. You don't know if you don't know enough about magic to know what that rune meant, and you don't know enough about the amount, like, she's lying to herself in that moment. Was she being lied to by this figure or not? You're not sure.
Crazy. That was crazy.
I will share this with everyone.
Okay.
You will not believe this shit.
That was all in this? God.
Yeah, that's pretty wild, Kieran.
Then someone should probably look at her partner in crime.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Okay, so wait a minute. The person in the vision saw the foresight and knew that they were being watched.
No, they have some kind of thing where if you're scrying on them in some kind of way, it pings that they know that we're watching them.
Right.
Certain magic that do that.
My question is, do they know now that we know?
I don't know if it tells a specific person.
This feels
Can I make
different.
an Arcana check?
Well, yeah, Yuna hearing that question would say,
Yeah.
if she's a
Oh,
powerful
you're
enough,
right. Yes.
if she's a powerful enough mage of divination, then she probably has many protections on her own to be divined against. This device does work around some, like, you cannot scry on somebody, but this device might still capture some of their memories, but they would be aware that it is happening, and they would be quite aware if somebody was looking into them. Maybe they wouldn't know who. They probably think that it's Thalindra.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
I think everyone on the continent at some point has been like looked in the corner and is like, Lindra's spying again.
And as
Well,
like to dive in the other ones, I think if she's alert, she might think that would be our next step and be waiting there to trap us or chase us back.
I don't know if she can have any kind of effect like that. I mean, mostly I think it would just be that they would know that we looked at both of them. If they're already aware, I say why not go on. But and he's like kind of like slinking off to the side. He's like, maybe I could just let one of you do that while I'm. I just want to check one thing really quick, and then we could. I rolled a really bad deception for this roll at the very end of last session.
Yeah.
No.
Like I think I got like a 5 or something. So my in character is he's being really sketchy about this.
Not my business.
Mr. Rifton, you're all right. Slink off. Walk the other stuff.
No.
As you're looking into the site, make an insight check or an investigation check to see if you can find
Please let
the
me
one you're
invest
looking for.
Dice, please. Oh, I got a 14.
Okay. One of the dream catchers falls into your hands.
Is it the one?
You can make a wisdom check to try to dive. Well, and you already know how to do that. You already have done this, right? You've already gone into one of the
I
dream
dived in
catchers?
the last one.
Okay, then yeah, so you can dive into this one and you see the memories flooding by. Remind us the name of the person you're digging into.
Her name is Coriander.
Coriander. And what question are you looking for Coriander?
I think I'm just looking for if they're happy in their journey right now.
Okay. As the memories kind of flood in, you see like a series of memories, and not sure exactly what Andalus is afraid to find or not afraid to find. But you see a lot of images of Coriander sitting beside a river, playing a lute, running through a field with his dog. you never see Coriander with another person.
Okay. All right. That's good. Sure. I'm sure they have friends. He's got so many friends. It's cool. Right. I feel like I hang up the dream catcher. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's good. Yep, I'm good. Wow, he has a dog. That's so cool. Yeah.
All right.
Everyone else can look at the other dream catcher. That's
Yeah.
actually cool.
So you all...
Does anyone else want to look at Sola Arturans or? Yeah, I take this
My
one.
vote is against it, but I won't stop someone who tries.
I mean, it's tempting. What's the worst that could happen?
I mean,
really?
I'll take the heat for it. You know.
Well, we'll back you up if you.
I already have some good rapport with her. I think.
Just buy her a bottle of wine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I actually am in good with this person by nature of just kind of being catty towards Simona. So,
Hilarious.
and I still don't regret it. Okay, then then I'll try to
Okay, make an investigation check to try to locate Simona Ling's.
get hers. Not Simona, Sola.
Sorry,
Arturans.
That was the last name you said, and it's stuck in my head.
They're pretty close.
Yeah.
I get it. 16.
16. Okay. As you're kind of going around, you find another Dreamcatcher kind of falls into your hands, and this one, the orbs or the gems on it are all gemstones, used in a lot of convocation magic. It makes sense. And you kind of dive into the memories that are being presented here. Anything in particular that you would like to look for?
Yeah, I get. I have more of the same with the ship stuff. Specifically with like the magic that's the magic that's on the ship. Like, what does she know about it?
Okay. So go ahead and make a wisdom check to see if you can organize the memories or if they just kind of flow in.
Pretty good. That's pretty good. There's a 21.
Okay. So the series, there's a series of memories here connected to the foresight, and it seems like, based off what Kieran said, that Sola was much more involved with the actual construction of the vessel. Like Dawn Treader, other than like providing the runic structures and things like that and helping to design the ship, was never a part of the actual building. So there are a few memory windows that are flying by of like the ship being built itself. There are a couple, like you see like the memory of Dawn Treader and Arturian huddling, but from Sola's perspective in the chamber is there as well. You see also the memory, you don't see the memory of Dawn Treader getting the plans, because that's a pure Dawn Treader memory. So there's kind of where you could dive in would be either in the construction of the ship itself, or centering around that spell that, like the secret component of what the ship might be doing.
I guess the secret component,
okay.
Right?
Yeah. So as you kind of dive in, like the first memory of Dawn Treader and Solar Arturian talking to the robed figure kind of passes by. And behind that, there is another memory of Arturian walking through the halls of, you can assume maybe the Violet Conclave or something. And that robed figure is there again. And you are magical, so you can make an Arcana check for me.
Okay. I am magical.
Mm-hmm.
You are magical.
Well, you know.
Maybe not today.
All right.
Oh, 11.
Okay. DC 10 to know that the DC 15 would have given you more, but DC 10 to know that this robed figure has a constant magical effect on them. which you can assume might be
It's probably appearance-wise.
appearance. Yeah,
just so you can't,
they're
like, see
hiding
their
appearance
face and know
Yeah.
who they are. Yeah,
which is
sure.
probably letting you
Right.
know as well that when you saw them in the temple, that like whatever you saw was not who that person really is. But they're walking through the halls, and the robed figure is saying, I think that your friend has lofty ambitions for the way that the stars can tell the future. You are much more concrete in your thinking. Your school leads to that. And Sola says, why, of course, yes. And she says, I think you understand the brilliance of what I'm suggesting. Do you not? And Sola kind of walks for a moment. They pass by a courtyard where you can see students kind of heading off to class in their student robes. And they step out into the sunlight for a moment and stand. And you can tell that Sola's like the smell of flowers and like the nature within this courtyard is really like sticking into Sola's mind. And she says, well, I don't quite know enough. Perhaps we should reach out to the Plane Guardian and see if she has seen something from beyond the veil that we would need such a powerful spell to protect against. And the robed figure says, we do not need an outside voice in this. I can tell you that I've seen it myself. There is a cancer growing within the realm. There's an empty seat. Thankfully, the pestilence of divinity is being racked from this place. But all it would take is something that sees you in all of your great mageocracy powers as an ant, Sola. And there are beings beyond the stars that would see you that way. Does that not frighten you? Sola, an elf, long-lived, much older than Cassandra, who is a human who vies for some kind of, like, amassing of power in her short existence. Sola, much more restrained, says, I don't believe that anybody should have that kind of power. Doesn't it make you the thing that you are fighting against? Would you not be creating a divinity of myself or Dawn Treader if we were to cast this spell? And the robed figure says, of course not. You are creating a shield. That is all. And Sola looks to a couple of the students. But in my experience, a shield wall can be used to push enemies off cliffs. They're weapons in their own right. I will think on this. And she walks away from that memory.
Can I search for the memory that made her change her mind?
Okay. So you dig a little deeper.
Because clearly she didn't leave this conversation like convinced.
Yeah. So you go a little bit further and you find this memory didn't show up in Dawn Treader's because this isn't specifically about the foresight. Sola is drinking in her chamber alone, and a knock comes into, and she welcomes in, and Dawn Treader walks in and just sets an orb on the center of the table. You haven't been to the site in, a week or so. You were supposed to turn in the last bits of your magic for the cannons. And Sola says, I'm refining them. I'm working through them. Well, perhaps this will spur your focus. And Dawn Treader turns and leaves. And Sola kind of is staring at the orb. And you're seeing it for the first time. It is like a crystalline orb, almost like a crystal ball. But there's this like murky purple, black inkiness that's swirling around in it. And as she's staring at it, like you can feel like the buzz of the wine, the heat of the fire, and time passes in such a way that you feel like she stared at this orb for hours, just staring at it. And then as like the light is like the fire needs to be fed, it's dimming to embers. Suddenly a yellow eye appears out of the fog and stares at her for a moment and then subsumes back into the fog. And she finally sits up and she takes the orb, touches it. And you see what it's like for someone to cast legend lore from inside. As she casts this spell on the orb, and the orb suddenly flies up into the air in front of her and begins to spin as these like magical tendrils are whipping off of it all around. And she pulls two of them and puts them into her vision. And you see a ship. You are inside of a ship unlike that you have ever seen. A massive construction of metal with odd instrument panels, displays that are not magical but bear all the ideas of an illusion magic spell. Beings of interesting make. They're robed. They look humanoid, but they're walking on dozens of legs through the halls, kind of clacking against the metal. And then another kind of cut in space and time as there are like alarm klaxons going off within the ship. Something is wrong. Something isn't working. A beam of white light flashes across the viewfinder of the ship. And then another white light slams into the ship. And suddenly you can tell that they've lost control of the vessel. And the first time you can kind of tell they're not sailing a ship. They are flying a ship through not a cloudy sky, but a sea of stars. And then the vision fades again until you can see from the nose of the vessel, it's looking down at a fast approaching landscape. White hot flames shooting off all around. And the figure that had this orb in its hand rushes to the back of the vessel, finds this large canister, sets the orb into the canister base, and you can see it kind of get absorbed and taken up inside of it, and it's floating there, and the eye is looking out. And suddenly there's a massive impact. The whole scene goes white as the ship collides into the ground and explodes in a massive magical explosion. But the last thing that this person did was they protected the canister and that orb. And then you see just like a feeling of like tendrils of something snaking their way through underground chambers, seeking something. And every living creature that they touch is added to their knowledge and is added to their mind. And they're reaching further and further deep out from that crash site. And finally, Dawn Trader comes out of the legend lore. Or this is not Dawn Trader. Solar Turing comes out of the legend lore and she looks at it. I know you're still out there. And her door to her chamber opens and Dawn Trader walks in. Well, it took you long enough. What spell did you use? And Sola says, legend lore. And Dawn Trader says, good thing you didn't use identify. We might have lost your mind too. It came from beyond the stars, Sola. There's something out there. And then that memory fades.
Starseekers.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Well, I mean, it's also on this continent too, though. There's so much. Okay. Well, I feel like that might be what I needed to be there, so I'll pull out.
Okay.
And I'll tell people.
Yeah.
of what I've seen. I'll inform the masses. And I guess I'll specifically try to describe the, because I've seen enough, I think, vision stuff of the astral sea at this point. You know, that's where that was.
Yeah, you're very familiar with that.
Yeah, been there. Describe the kind of creature or like the living knowledge thing to Kieran and Yuna. I'll include her too, so she feels included.
Yuna looks horrified but uncertain about where it could
that makes
come
sense.
from. Yeah.
But does she feel good that I included her? Though?
Yeah, she feels fine. You included her.
Does Kieran recognize the description of these creatures?
Yes. Let's see how much you get. So you recognize a little bit, but let's see how a history check does you to see how much you get from it.
History plus 5 and a 9, 14.
14. So
could I have guidanced him on this?
Yeah, you can guidance.
Maybe
make a D4, add a D4 to it because it could change it.
That's a 2, so 16.
A 16. Okay. So on progressions of thinking about something, a 10 would have given you something more, a 15 would have given you something more, a 20 would have given you mostly more. So you're above the 15. This is, you recognize immediately the description of a race of individuals that exist in the astral sea. And they may or may not be from the astral sea itself or for something beyond the astral sea. But they have set up realms within planets. And the legend is that these are native borns to these planets. But there are people, especially from Eviosia and from your region, who are kind of like the Eviosians. You can find us on many planets, but we have an origin planet. The way that this race of individuals is discussed is that their origin planet is a dozen planets on the edge of the sea. There's no way that they could and every time that they're mentioned, it's not a dozen planets, it's 2 dozen planets, it's 3 dozen planets. And all that they know is that pejoratively, they are called the star spawn. They are beings that do not have a clear origin. They are always cloaked. Oftentimes they wear masks, very nondescript white masks that hide their features. They have kind of a hierarchy where there's the leaders are these ornate, it seems like maybe matriarchal society or something. The masks are very feminine. They have long, luscious hair. And then there is a whole second, maybe worker class that are insectoid, but they all wear the robes. And so the ones with the legs and the clicking feet would be the insectoid members. You can guess, however, that based on what you know about Starspawn, is that whoever was holding that orb in the legend lore would have been a Starspawn and not one of the insectoid kind of servants of the Starspawn. So at least one member of this race of individuals crash landed into Alyria. The only thing that you know about them is that they seem to spread a message of acceptance and joy and are not openly militaristic. And there are many cultures that have sought to wage war against them and take over the planets that they have with natural resources. And any kind of negotiations or diplomatic relations have always ended on the side of the Starspawn in those relations, even though the Starspawn don't clearly have any kind of military power.
I share this with the group.
Mm.
And also that this eye in the orb is something we don't know about.
Yeah, the eye in the orb, though, Kieran, you don't know anything about that, but you know enough about the nightmares that are told in the far reaches of the astral sea, that the things from the far plane or the far realm, the edges of the sea, beyond the sea, are often depicted in ways that describes the number of eyes that they have. That it's always like this concept of creatures with many eyes or eyes where they shouldn't be. Like a very common thing that you might run into in a world where far realm effects are happening is creatures like beholders, where they have these massive eyes and tendrils with eyes, right? And so the thought of an orb with an eye in it immediately makes you think of the far realm.
That's not good news.
Honestly, none of that sounded like good news. I in particular. No, none of that was very good, I think.
Can I try to think really hard to the space between the stars and be like, hey.
Bad.
So go ahead and make a religion check.
Okay.
I was gonna say, Josh, can I make some kind of check to try to maybe draw a line between the guy I saw in this?
Yeah, like go ahead and make an insight check.
Yeah, that wasn't either. I got a wow, I rolled better than him. I got a 22.
22. Okay, you got a 0. Yeah, Bonnie is oblivious. Like that guy was just living his best life.
Still exhausted.
He was living his best life.
He really turned his life around. I'm saying, like.
So the space between the stars, you call out to him, and there's a moment.
I think I step away to
Yeah.
do that. I don't think I just do this in the middle of but it does very much like Lookie like takes like 3 steps away and then zones the fuck out.
And violently disassociate.
No. But I think this is also not completely unusual to the group.
No,
like
it really is.
It is a little sudden, I think. Like, but it's also like
It's like,
Lucky
huh?
Yeah.
Usually they have better.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
As you kind of reach out, you hear like that camera view that's always kind of observational. You feel it kind of focus down, and you hear the voice, and he's starting to make it where, like, when you're hearing the voice, it sounds like he's in the room with you versus being in your head. Doesn't mean anybody else can hear this. This is just what he's doing. Yeah.
I don't know how that's worse, but it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he says, "Oh, you found yourself on a completely different continent."
Am I right now?
You're the cold continent. I believe your people call it Glacia. You were on Highwall before.
Like, what am Glacier?
I was.
Yeah,
And I went through the door.
night.
Yeah.
A house moving castles.
It's a house. Yeah, it's in 2 places at
Yeah.
once. Yeah. You seem that something is bothering you. Can I help?
Hold on. Let me. I think Lucky will like just kind of show the vision, like recap that mentally, and be like, and then like kind of fill in the details that. Oh my God! Not Saurus. Kieran did, and then be like, oh. What do you think about that? Or
Well, and he kind of looks for a moment. I can access these. And for a moment you see kind of like, it's almost like a wind blows through the dream catchers kind of floating in the ceiling. And you can tell that like Solar Arturians and the Cassandra Dawn Treaders kind of sink for a moment, but then go up to the ceiling. So I can tell you about the spell that they're casting, or trying to, and I can tell you about my brother's work.
I was so hoping you wouldn't say the second part. But I did feel that was you'll have very specific branding. Okay.
He does.
Well, you do too. We just gotta, workshop it a little more. We'll get you there. Okay. So, sorry. The spell that they're trying to pull off, what does it do?
Well, divination, often used to predict the future. The component of this spell that's divination is the same type that would prevent you from scrying on a friend. They're trying to hide the planet from outward gaze. Conjuration is magic that summons things or creates shields. They're trying to create a shell around the planet that if something were to find it, they would not be able to crack it. It would work.
Aren't they just trapping us in with what's already here?
Well, that was my unfortunate second point. If a star spawn is already on your planet, it doesn't require my brother to come and eat your planet. So the spell would potentially hide from his eye or from his bite. But an apple is often cored from the inside by a worm, not from the out. Is that the correct metaphor? I just learned what apples are.
No, that's so good. Okay. Honestly, really. It was horrifying in how accurate a picture it painted. Okay, and how far along are they with it?
Well, it depends how vainglorious he's being, which he has a tendency to be quite. Sometimes he only likes to visit a planet with his wrath when he knows that a vast majority of the people on the planet would enjoy seeing his presence. But if the planet were a threat, he may come quicker. I do not think you are a threat. You do not have gods.
Right.
But if his star spawn are able to infect enough to turn a multitude into his adherents, then he may grace you with his presence.
Okay. How do you, is there any, resisting that? Do they have any, I don't know, big weakness?
Well, if you are of strong will, you can mostly escape what they're doing, unless they are able to get you back to whatever chambers they have. The orb that Kieran saw was an egg, and wherever it is being hatched would be a space where they would bring adherents who would be gifted with divine sight, a direct connection to the mind that is broad and reaching like a fungus's mycelium across the universe. They would understand things about the stars that they did not know were possible, and that is quite intoxicating. But by accepting it would also forego the individuality that comes with being bound to a single planet. In the event that you were brought to such a place, you would be destined to fall to its influence unless you were to destroy the egg and what it were to hatch.
So you have to kill the egg.
Or just don't get tricked into going to it. My brother...
But it seems like that might be doing a good job of bullshitting the planet.
Yeah, my brother is quite good at hiding what he does from me. I can't tell you exactly where he works, but I do know that the place within your realm that I cannot see is on the main continent of the gods.
Is in Alyria?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well. Okay. Now I had follow-up questions, but honestly, I'm so feeling so many emotions about this.
Yeah.
I don't think I can ask any good questions.
I hope
that's about what I got.
I could leave you with some hope.
I would love that.
The last planets that fell to the star spawn, it takes generations. You have time. Probably. Depending on how long they've been working.
It could be Campaign 3's problem. I understand.
It can be Campaign 2's problem, but it could also be Campaign 3 problem. Yep.
Simultaneously back on the mainland.
Everything's on fire.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you. You're very helpful.
I think sometimes what I bring you is just more pain.
No, you bring me knowledge that I need to know. And it's not great. I'm not going to pretend that, but it's I'd rather know than not.
Well, then I...
How are you? Are you good? You okay?
Yes, it is good to speak with you.
Hey, well, yeah, check in more often.
Oh, I shouldn't wait for you to call on me.
You don't have to. No, if you want to talk, you can. I may not always be available, but like in the moment. But you know what? No, pause. You're watching. Find a moment where I'm free, and then just drop in. That's, I think, the solution.
I will. I will keep that in mind. And you feel like that pull back to the observation. Now he's watching for a moment where he can step in.
I need you to understand that what was going through my mind this whole time when you were talking about the camera thing, I don't know why, but for some reason my mind instantly went to Mario 64, the camera operator.
Yeah. He's a Lakuta. Are those Lakutas? Yeah.
And he zooms in and then he pulls out, and I don't know why, but that was on my brain whole conversation.
Were you hearing the noise too? Just like
little Lakitos, yeah.
Yeah.
And actually,
Lucky hits the camera.
Mario 64 camera controls is perfect because you hit a button and it zooms in close, and you hit a button and it zooms back out. Yeah.
Exactly.
Very accurate.
And that's the level of camera angle. He's getting the top of my head, kind of from the side.
Oh my god.
I'm a playable video game character, which I guess in his brain is not inaccurate. All right. Well, I come back to the room and I go, okay. I spoke with the space between the...
You what?
Huh?
You know, like I do. And
Have
that's not
Have
uncommon.
you told us about this yet?
I think I like offhandedly mentioned like I have someone that talks to me,
Yeah.
and I think it's the space between the stars, and I think like Lucky has implied that, but I think this is the most Lucky's just like
Hey, Lucky. Hey. Can I talk to you in my office? Can I talk to you over here for a second?
Can I say what I was going to say?
Well, let me just say what the hell are you talking about? All right, now I can join the group.
Okay.
Hell are you talking about?
I was talking to the space between the stars. One of the, remember when Kira gave us the lesson on all of our gods and beings that are, out beyond the astral sea, blah, blah, blah. Okay, yes, we're caught up. And this is what he said. And I just recap the whole thing.
And all the important information, and then I go, so why are you talking to him?
He talked to me first. I want that on the
That
record.
is unprecedented.
Okay.
Why?
Oh, you know.
Maybe I'm just a really cool cleric and he really wants friends. Did anyone ever think of that?
Okay, just real quick. I will acknowledge that I am a very easy to convince person. I just want you to know that what you're telling me sounds like a whole lot like when I had someone show up to me and was like, "Oh, you're like the chosen one or whatever," and all
He's no. He's never called me the chosen one. He's never said anything that crazy.
To be fair, Bonnie, you really
he's not
pissed
really
us
doing
off.
anything for me, nor am I really doing anything for him. That's
So
not
there's
true.
no deals
So
been
we're
cut?
in the grooming process right now.
Are you in a situation? Are you in a situationship?
I want to hear from on the situation.
Are you in a situationship with an outer god?
I look at my fiance who's in this room.
He's listening.
No, I mean, I don't imply that at all.
When you say that, and I
The
go,
truth comes out.
no,
of course not. Of course not.
no, it's more akin to, it's not exactly because I don't worship him, but it is more akin to the relationship between a god and cleric, if anything.
So is this like a 24/7 thing, or like?
I feel the camera on all the time. So, I don't know. I think if I asked him to look away, he would. He can look away. He's done
Are
it
you
before.
his cleric?
I'm not worshiping him, so I don't think that's how that works.
I think the important question is: do you feel safe and comfortable?
Do I feel comfortable with the information that was just given to me? No.
No,
feel
with
extremely
this
uncomfortable.
with the stars between the space guy.
I mean, there was a time where I didn't feel very comfortable at all, but to be honest, this has been going on for like a decade, so I've had a lot of time to get comfortable with it.
A decade?
It's been happening for it happened not incredibly long after Belnor was consumed.
You don't say.
Right. Okay. So back to the point.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I've got two concerns.
Just
One
two.
is-
That's incredible.
Oh no! I've got many more, but only two I'm going to address now, because I think they're the most salient. First of all, this egg. They said it likes to hide. You saw it with Dimwala and what's her name? Arturian.
Solo Arturian, yeah.
What worries me is, what if they brought it with them on the foresight?
I think these are the kind of wizards who would not leave anything dangerous behind. I'm willing to bet it's there.
Second thought. this person who was working with them to do this rune that's a shield, which the space between the stars has confirmed is a shield, but which locks in as well as locks out. This person is also trying to bring back the primals. What do you think would happen if the shield gets made, the primals come back, and then they get infected by the stars?
Well, this is the most heretical thing I'm ever going to say in my life. We go back to the way it was before, where the primals were run rampant. The whole planet was chaos, except this time there's no gods that find the planet, divine intervention, and then the beginning of our age. It's just that forever.
But what I'm trying to ask is, this person who's trying to bring this about, that's what would happen. So why would they want to do that?
Well,
I don't really like to get too deep into the minds of people who hate religion that much. But I don't know. I mean, either they want total chaos or there is, a secret third worse option.
Because I'm trying to figure out.
Because if you can harness the power of the primals in a world where no one else stronger can come in and stop you, then I think you have total control forever, right?
And then there's also this thing.
But that means you would also
devils.
need immortality of some sorts.
There's this stuff also going on with the devils over at the Dwarven that we've dealt with.
I think this is tied to that, and I think this is tied to the Feywild too.
Yeah,
I think this is all connected.
You know enough about religion to understand, Lucky, that like in the hierarchy of religious order, at least what you're taught in the Nine, and some of that's been blown to pieces because like you've heard that the Feywild existed before the Nine, that the witches were here before the Nine, like. But
right.
The way that the Nine always talked about it was that like in the realms of the divine, there is the outer circle of gods. And then directly beneath that is a circle of like near divine, but not quite godlike entities. So if the outer circle were to be suddenly vacated, it would be very difficult for a Lucky from the most inner circle to rise to the outer circle. But it would be less difficult for an archfey, an archdemon, a primal, to ascend to that realm of godhood. Because all they need is worshippers. All they need is the power of belief to lift them to that realm.
Right. Which the Fae can't really do right now because they're closed off to our realm.
Except for the Prince of Frost, who's just outside the door.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
he's a little punk bitch, and I want to slap him at some point, just so you know.
I would love to see that, Kira.
Mr. Reggie, you're so cool.
Okay.
Well, all of that's really, 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 really bad.
And
Now, Josh.
I can never go home.
How popular are...
Well, I mean, is it so bad?
Sorry. How popular are the star speakers in Alyria that Lucky would have heard of them? Which I feel like Lucky would know of a fringe religious group
absolutely
making waves. I feel like Lucky would be tapped in on that and their existence. Could I make the connection like right now? Okay, those are obviously the stars.
So,
or at least like, wow, that's a weird coincidence if they're not.
Yeah, so I think like Lucky has definitely probably heard of the Star Speakers, or as they are often called, the Cult of the Comet.
They call themselves the Cult of the Comet.
They do, yeah.
I hate their asses. I hate them.
But Lucky, like they are not necessarily, like they never have portrayed themselves as a rival religious order. They're like a
like a self-help group.
Yeah, they're like an MLM. Yeah.
A bigger rival to Corinne than anyone else.
Yeah, sure.
Right. I understand.
But they're very much like a utopian, like they're a utopian ideal community, like the way that they're established.
They're like the Disney neighborhoods.
Yes, 100%. They're Disney neighborhood MLMs. But they
I understand.
but they never portray themselves as religious in any way. It's always just like find your belonging space. Now, how far they've spread within Anervir, you're not sure. You know that they have their little conclave at the site of Starfall, where the comet fell. You know that there are some villages around the Veltland where every member of the village, because of drought or whatever, fell on hard times and then kind of fell into the cult. And you know that they travel, the biggest, I imagine that 10 years ago, Lucky went to a carnival outside Anervir, and saw the Star Speaker Carnival. And so knows that they also run around with like their circus carnival where they're also sharing out information. Yeah. About their, not their religion, their organization, which I would give that to Lucky more than anything else, because it's yet another group of people that were pushing people further and further away from the church. Because
like I feel like Lucky would absolutely have been tapped in.
Yeah, their whole message was you don't need the divine, you need community.
You're your own God.
Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Well, I share this with the group and share that, a comet fell, a ship fell. It's pretty.
So things are even more fucked than we originally thought coming into today, which was already that things were pretty well fucked.
And they're fucked back on our home continent too. So, All
right.
Well, let's just wrap up here so we can go back and deal with that then, shall we?
I was gonna say, could we maybe just find some way to tell the Foresight about this, so then they could, maybe two problems might solve themselves, and then we just deal with whoever's left.
That's a brilliant
I think
idea.
the Foresight might go destroy Starfall, which is not a good solution necessarily.
Also, they were collaborators, right? Am I crazy?
I don't want to necessarily have the ship just attack Starfall out of nowhere.
I'd be all right with that, but I don't think that's what would happen. If they've got the egg, they might think, oh, there's more of these. Oh, there's powerful magic here. Oh, let's go take it over, and then get subsumed themselves.
That's a good point.
Well, and how confident are we they didn't have anything involved with this? I mean,
or that they're not just looking. If they're so tapped into all of this, they can't be that oblivious.
Yeah.
Right?
Kieran, also, I don't know how much you shared, but you are very aware of times where entire armadas of ships have gone to where the star spawn are, and the entire armada of ships didn't blow the star spawn out of the galaxy.
Yeah, when you have mind control, the worst thing you can do is send powerful things or big numbers to it.
That's pretty smart. I don't know why I didn't think of that.
So you're saying this is also going to be our problem to solve?
Do you think there's a reason they want this planet specifically? I know they kind of crashed here on accident. But do you think there's a reason that there's?
Make a religion check for me, Lucky, as you're asking that question.
Okay.
Oh, you stumbled upon something.
A lot of
I said it and I was like, wait, am I cooking? Wait. That is a 23. I'm so religious.
So I don't know if this answers your question or not, but the white light that blasted the star spawn ship out of the stars was the light of Bellinor.
My boy! How would you do this to us?
Well, he was asleep.
I know. know,
But in his sleep,
damn
his only goal in his sleep was protecting Alyria, and all of his energy was put to that.
He couldn't, and he wasn't, and he didn't see the fallout. Awesome.
Yeah.
Sleep.
Blasted their shit onto the planet.
They seek to expand. I don't know why they select which planets they do. Whether they were, but it seems like
But they didn't
were
select
anyway.
this one. That's what I'm saying. Is they could have just like left, maybe.
Yeah, Kieran, you hear a lot of different. There's a lot of different theories, right? Like some of the theories are just like that the Starspawn don't have, like they're not actually elevated beings, so they're not making logical choices. They're just like they're spread like locusts, or they spread like something like, in that way. Or some cultures within the realms will say things like they are punishment for the evil actions of a community. So when a world falls into evil, the Starspawn come and they suddenly become like civilized and cultured and kind and like they're a way to reset the balance of chaos within a space. The most common thread is that the stories that you've heard is that anytime a planet finds itself in a place where there's no clear direction for the planet, the Starspawns find a way to give direction to the planet.
The death of the gods. Except for Bellinor and the remnants of Caiaphas, this was an unprotected planet, so they would think.
Uh-oh.
They came when.
Oh, I don't like that at all.
That's
I wonder if they were
the
trying
creature you
to-
saw, on the ship.
Oh, that's not good.
I'm not gonna look at that right
Don't
now.
look at it. Don't
I
look
love
at it.
don't
myself.
look at it.
I'm not
If
gonna
you
look.
won't
I'm not
like
gonna
that, don't.
I was gonna just send a picture of the mini I have for it, but instead I sent you that.
No, I'm okay.
Not if you have tryptophobia.
Jace does. What are you talking about?
I do, and I've been very politely ignoring that this whole time.
So sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Jace doesn't like multiple eyes.
It's not your fault. Audio, like
Yes.
descriptions of that don't really bother
Yes.
me. And it's movement that I hate more than anything. So
Yeah.
A picture wouldn't really either.
Yes.
It's a very specific. If it was in CG rendering of it, I would.
Oh,
be
yeah,
so
yeah.
angry at you.
And just as a break callback for just the players, the one time you guys interacted with the Star Speakers, the thing that you fought was basically a baby beholder, right? So like
yeah.
you fought a watcher. Yeah.
We remember this.
Yep.
So. Huh. I guess Lucky's probably not going to say this out loud, but I guess Lucky's point is now like, they fell when Bellinor was still around because he knocked him down. They probably were like, what the fuck was that? What?
Yeah.
We want that. So they like, that's probably part of the reason they stuck around is to be like, whoa, what the fuck is that? Can we get big enough to eat that? Can we eat that? And then it died, and they were like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, we
While
put a
we're
lot of
here.
resources.
Maybe we can dine on its carcass.
I mean, we don't know what powers they have. They could absolutely try to do some weird shit.
Yeah, Kieran, you're not sure about like their relationship with divinity in the planets that they fell. That's not something that's ever discussed. It's always just their effects that they have on the people that live there.
Oh no, guys. Out of character, I just realized we haven't heard from Kaimana in like 7 years.
Dude, he's literally the
He's not
harbinger
killing
of
your
death.
character off screen. Hush.
Literally the shepherd.
You'll
of
die
death
on
by this
screen.
show.
Kamana's leading the cult by now.
Yeah.
He's not Redwall Atwood.
He's not succumbed to the mind thing, but he's still just leading.
He's just in the cult. Yeah.
There's just nothing there for them to corrupt. It's like we subject
No,
them
it's
to all the
bad. Why are
brainwashing.
you
He just-
acting like Kaimana wasn't there for any of that? He knows it's bad.
Yeah, he knows about
Yeah.
that.
Also, you're
He
not
knows they mind
supposed to
control
wear
him
that
in
base.
a weird way, and we were
Guys,
all
he's
like,
also-
"Ew, they suck."
He's also a fucking idiot.
No, he's not gonna walk into
I don't-
Colt Alien Island, Atwood. Randomly.
You see, now that you've said it, though.
It is
Probably
gross.
is.
Yuck.
Stop trying to make a tragedy for the most adorable character that we love so much. Stop
Oh, no,
trying
he'll
to
be-
force the tragedy agenda.
No, he'll be fine. I'm just saying that like he doesn't he could like be Mr. Magoo in his way through like the whole cult right now.
Yeah.
Sounds like
yeah, go ahead, Karen. Yeah.
what in the course of our endeavors we need to. I know that there are items out there that can protect your brain from being scryed or being usurped, and we should try and find as many of those as we can.
Mm-hmm.
Is it worth
Maybe-
asking?
Indira.
Well, Indira, or giving more support to our people who make magical
The Wonder
items.
Twins.
The Wonder
Yeah.
Twins. Yeah, a ring of mind shielding is uncommon, so they could make. It would take them 2 weeks, or for all 5 of you, it'd take 3 weeks. They could make one for each of you.
Okay.
Well, we have our
That
next
was
wish.
good.
Like as a starter, that could be the move.
Are they working on
And then
anything
look for
right
better-
now?
I don't think you guguys left them with anything to work
Okay,
on.
I cast sending
Okay.
to not to Weller. To Yara.
To Yara.
The good one.
To Shara.
Yes. I guess-
Useful. Yeah.
I cast it to Yara and I request, hello Yara, I hope everything's well. It's not really here. Can you make us all mind shielding rings? And maybe an extra one for yourself. Not for Weller, he'll be fine.
Yes. Also, the most horrifying message that anyone has ever sent me. Thank you, Andrew.
I don't want to cast again
Final roll for the evening before the day breaks and you guys are able to leave the library and make your choices about your next space. Ravik, hearing everything that you guys have discussed, I need you to make a charisma check. This is not a modified. This is not a saving throw. This isn't anything. This is a charisma check.
What are you doing?
I dropped my dice.
Not you. I'm saying, what are you doing to Josh?
Oh
Gun to his head. What are you doing?
What are you doing?
no. Ooh, a 19 on the dice, plus 5.
Okay, because you needed a 20 for any of this.
24. Oh my.
Yeah, you needed a 20 for any of this. Ravik has been hearing a lot about the Star Spawn, has been learning a lot about all of these elements. The question of could the Star Spawn infect a god? Nobody knows the answer to that. But in the moments as the clock shifts and daylight begins to break in the ceiling above you, and you can feel like the shudder of space and time as the mansion doesn't move, but it is now in its location in Highwall until the next moon when she decides that she's going to go into her dagger form again. You focus for a moment on the magic that connects you with Albahar. And it's very strange because unlike in the game parlance, right, we know that wizards have schools of magic, that there are necromancers and there are evocators and there are divinators and there are conjurators. Warlocks are such a isolated, narcissistic cult that they don't share that information broadly. But Ravik is quite aware that his magic, while coming from Albahar, is not the magic of a genie. It is of a great old one.
Oh my god.
And
Yeah.
that's
No fucking
where
way.
we will pick up next week.
Josh, what the fuck?
Way too much.
Josh!
Way too much of a fucking problem and threat to be like just
Josh, what the hell? Wait, that's why he's got mind control over fucking what's her face.
And this is a wonderful thread that Ronnie has given us because Ronnie chose the Great Old One as his. No, it's wonderful.
Hey, you take that blame off him.
He chose the Great Old One as his Warlock class rather than the Genie class. Yeah, and so.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It all makes sense now.
It was my place. Wow. It was my fault.
Yeah.
Taking advantage of a backstory and running with it.
So you get the sense, Ravik, that Albahar is pulling your strings, but throughout this whole conversation, you get the sense that something else is pulling Albahar's.
Holy shit! That was the missing piece. That explains so much.
We need to shift all our attention to these star spawn. This is
this is the priority. Oh man, what a crazy. Josh, you're really good at giving us a lot of information at once in a way that doesn't feel like I'm being like info dumped or lectured on.
Oh, good, thank you.
You make it really exciting and like fun.
Well, I have
the movie.
A worse DM, the session would have been like really, really boring.
Yeah. Well, you guys also asked the right questions, and like, and I love, as you said, like Rob deciding not to. I said, "Here's the order that the memories are in," and Rob said, "I want them in a different order." Like,
awesome. So awesome.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like I said, I kept thinking that I was going to have to roll to get interrupted, and so it's like, let me get the chunks of information.
And that's a super reasonable thing to.
Well, and where it would have happened.
Those are the order. Like we probably.
What Kieran did was Kieran didn't ask questions. The moment Kieran was like, I need to think about this or I need to ask a question, that's when it would have opened up for Dawn Treader to potentially make a saving throw. But you never did it. You just kept like, boop, boop, I'm going to go through and watch these quickly. Yeah.
Kieran, look, man.
I said I had one question.
Yeah.
I had one question, and I went looking for that, and because I knew if you had said that, she's aware, she's not aware of this first one.
Yeah, anything to push deeper.
Yeah.
It was very deliberate. It's I better make one count. I came up with the one, and it's like and what I get is what I get.
Yep.
And I'm gonna stop there.
So you got your one question. That was great. That was awesome.
Wow.
I can't believe Bellinor's the fucking reason that the star spot's here.
Well, what I'm wondering is
so bad. I'm so fucking bad.
Not like purposeful.
Well, what I'm wondering is if they were coming to the
but I can still be mad at it.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm thinking is they were
You
coming
know
to
how hard
the
it is
planet
for
anyway.
me to hear all this shit and all these people be like, anti-religion, and they're coming at it from a lot of times like a mostly reasonable place of being like, the gods suck. Yeah, like they're just like we're holding on to like dead things, like all this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, totally. Except I have to be pro team religion.
Kieran,
my thought was
like,
that was that they were coming here anyway, and Bellinor tried to snipe them out of the sky because they had to get close enough to the planet for his power to reach them. So it wasn't just the astral sea is so big. If they were going somewhere else, they would not have come anywhere close to
I don't know, because the Space Between the Stars has like repeatedly been like, damn, your planet's so boring. You guys got fucking nothing going on.
The only thing, Kieran, that you can think of is that you had that vision of the 9 gods escaping, and there was a ship following them. You're not sure if it was the same ship, but you did have that vision at one point.
Well, and if anyone is worshiping the god, the eye god, like if someone is worshiping him, because we found various signs that people had worshipped these other gods
in the past,
in the past, that could have marked our planet in some way to them as well.
They show up and they're just like, we've been trying to reach you about your spell.
Jace is not going to dignify that with a response.
I'm not. Man.
Would your star between the space
The star.
Oh my god, poor Bonnie. Bonnie doesn't know what's happening. She needs a Life magazine.
And Jace just not deigning to admit it or acknowledge it at all, just kept going. And it was just made it even funnier.
If I have to stop to explain everything to Bonnie, I'm not explaining anything to anyone. No one's learning anything. So she's gonna catch up one day. And I'll be happy for her when she does.
I love every time Atwood's like, I'm gonna try to see if Bonnie can put this together, and then Atwood rolls every time it's a 1.
The dice are like, absolutely the fuck not.
You will play this imbecile and you will like it.
Yeah.
It's like jury's charisma rolls when trying to do something that they were designed to do.
Guys, I watched that digital dice roll off of the 20 and onto the 2. Like, that was like
I watched it too, which was really funny. That was a crazy roll.
That's hilarious.
Crazy roll.
I want to watch that back and see like my reaction where I'm like,
Oh.
I love that Inducite was just sketchy and useless this whole time too. It was great.
Checking in on a bow.
Like, I'm going no one can see. Everyone saw and everyone's just like, let him do whatever he's doing. He thinks he's being so sneaky.
Not my business.
Like,
just let him do
whatever, dude. Hey, remember when you yelled at me, do you have a situationship in front of a man you know I'm engaged
I'm sorry. I forgot he was here. Genuinely forgot.
Maybe the worst thing you've ever done to me.
Oh, Josh didn't have his headphones, so we could have pretended like I didn't say that.
I didn't have my headphones? Was that just now?
I think so.
Did that happen?
No, it was a while. I think you took your headphones off for it. I couldn't tell.
Oh.
But it's when I yelled at Lucky when Lucky came back. And
You got up for a second.
It was right when I said, do you have a situationship with this outer
No, I
father?"
definitely heard that because
I
I did throw in that Vigil is still or not Vigil Vigil is still here.
Vigil was here. I forgot. I'm sorry. And then I said no.
I never did. And that's why I was trying to like when I was talking casually and I was like, okay, remember everyone, and we're cool about this when I talk about this because this is really normal to us. And everyone was like, actually, I think we hate this and we never agreed to like this. Fuck you. Like, okay, well, I'll wait.
A lot to drop on us. A lot to take in.
I mentioned it before. When Kieran first like brought up and we got like the paragraphs about the Far Realm gods, I was like, oh, I think that's the one that talks to me. And I like said shit about that.
I think we thought you were just saying cleric-y stuff a little bit.
And you,
because I think I had to explain to you guys at some point why I still have like cleric powers. And they're like cool and strong.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if that conversation just happened between you and Kieran or if it happened to everybody.
I think it was a group conversation because I remember,
which is why
I remember like Inducite and Ravik being a little snipey about it, and I was like, not from you two. If you're from on the subject.
Is that what we have to fight over?
My thing for
no,
Kieran's
we
reaction,
thought about something else. It was stupid.
My thing for Kieran's reaction is the last conversation was like, I think I might be talking, and then you're like, oh yeah, I'm definitely, we're best buds now.
Well, because I went and like, because I was like, oh, I think that might be who I'm talking to. And then afterwards, I was like, hey, the next time I talked to him, I was like, are you this thing? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But you never
I just haven't followed up on that in a while. I was like, yeah, guys, and we talk all the time, and he tells me useful information all the time. Like, what?
Exactly.
I think Lucky has a thing where, I mean, I don't know. Listen, you live in your own bubble long enough, you forget who else is not also living in the bubble with you.